Together, we'll uncover secrets hidden within the stones of antiquity, stories whispered through time that only the monuments of the past can reveal. If you enjoy this exploration, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support inspires me to keep diving deeper into these timeless mysteries. Today's focus is the majestic Pyramid of Khafre. Though it's the second largest on the Giza Plateau, it often lives in the shadow of the Great Pyramid. As with many things in life, second place rarely gets the spotlight. Adding to this neglect is the pyramid's straightforward corridor layout, mostly carved directly into bedrock, which limits how much archaeologists can learn from its structure. Unlike the masonry-built passages of other pyramids, Khafre's offer few architectural clues. Instead, most academic attention goes to Khafre's remarkably well-preserved Valley Temple, situated just a stone's throw from the Great Sphinx. But make no mistake, this pyramid is a marvel in its own right, full of engineering brilliance and unanswered questions. And today, we focus on one such enigma, the sarcophagus, or more specifically, the coffer believed to have been built for Khafre. The word coffer refers to the outer stone chest meant to protect the body, and I'll use that term for clarity throughout the video. Now, to address a common skepticism, were pyramids really tombs? While I respect differing opinions, the evidence supporting this idea from the 4th dynasty onward is overwhelming. As pyramid design evolved, we see more standardized passageways leading to these protective coffers. And by the end of the 5th dynasty, actual funerary texts explicitly state the function of these structures. That said, the word tomb doesn't fully capture the grandeur or purpose of a pyramid. Just as we wouldn't call a Capitol building or a cathedral a tomb merely because someone is buried there, it feels reductive to do so here. These were monuments of power, faith, and enduring mystery. Now let's return to Khafre's coffer, a masterpiece of engineering that raises more questions than answers. One striking observation is how much more robust and elaborate it is compared to the coffer in the Great Pyramid. Even mainstream scholars point out this difference, suggesting that something may have gone wrong with Khufu's burial or that he was never interred there at all. We know that hard stone coffers were used by wealthy individuals beneath mastabas, so pharaohs weren't the only ones granted this level of protection. Still, Khafre's coffer stands apart. Its locking mechanisms were far more intricate, designed to prevent any tampering. Rather than a symbol of prestige, such a coffer might have been seen as a necessary burden, an impenetrable vault meant to secure the pharaoh's body, not glorify it. Perhaps this burden is why later pyramids introduced decorative elements like the palace facade, a repeating motif of false doors meant to aid the deceased in navigating the afterlife. It's plausible that Khafre's architects had to balance two needs: high security in the world of the living and smooth passage in the world of the dead. That tension may explain the evolution in design. Let's look at the coffer's defensive features in detail. It was fixed to the bedrock floor using cemented granite blocks. The floor around it was paved to level with the coffer's top, concealing the entire body of the coffer beneath the floor. Its sides were finely polished, even though they would never be seen. Only the underside was left rough. The lid had a dovetail protrusion that overlapped the coffer on 3 sides, effectively locking it in place. Tube-drilled holes, about 2.5 centimeters wide, allowed copper pins to drop down from the lid into the coffer, sealing it shut. In 1837, Howard Vyse found traces of resin in the pinholes. And later, Flinders Petrie proposed that the pins were possibly heated and sealed into place using this resin. That way, even if someone flipped the coffer upside down, the pins wouldn't dislodge. Yet, here's the mystery. Khafre's coffer was somehow open without showing any major damage. This is unusual. Most looted coffers are cracked, smashed, or violently forced open, especially those with locking mechanisms. For instance, Teti's 6th dynasty coffer shows extensive damage and a broken lid. But Khafre's? Still intact. Only minor chipping is visible on the delicate corners of the dovetail lid, likely caused by curious explorers over the centuries. Yet modern Egyptologists have mostly ignored this anomaly. For example, Zahi Hawass and Mark Lehner repeated a mistake in their 2017 book, claiming that the lid had been found broken in two. But it wasn't. Petrie noted the lid was whole as early as 1881, and Charles Rigano confirmed it again in 2014, describing it as completely intact except for some chips. In fact, renowned architect and pyramid researcher Gilles Dormian was so puzzled by the Khafre's condition, he proposed in 2018 that it had never been used at all. Interestingly, the lid is now displayed facing the wrong direction, making comparisons difficult, but still, no major damage is apparent. To explore further, I consulted pyramid expert Keith Hamilton, known for his beautifully illustrated guides on academia.edu. He proposed that a battering ram could have broken the pins without damaging the Khafre. While this is plausible, it raises another question. Why are other Khafres less secure always found smashed, while this one remains pristine? Stranger still, Khufu's Khafre had 3 locking pins. Khafre's had only 2. That's a downgrade in security, despite the elaborate design. Why reduce the number of locking points? Could this indicate a deliberate decision to make the Khafre easier to open? Perhaps even a conspiracy? What if priests simply pretended to insert the pins, allowing the lid to be removed later without resistance? The resin in the holes would muffle the sound. Without testing the lid, no one would know whether it was truly sealed. After Khafre, 2-pin Khafres became standard, even though later Khafres, including those in Menkawer's complex, were still violently opened. With modern forensic tools, we could finally resolve this mystery. A scan of the dovetail could determine whether the lid was ever forced open. Microscopic analysis of the pinholes could reveal whether the pins were ever sheared off with force. This could make for a stunning documentary akin to the global fascination surrounding the theories about Tutankhamun's death. And if it turns out that Khafre's Khafre was never properly locked, that alone rewrites part of pyramid history. Thanks so much for watching to the end. Subscribe for more deep dives into ancient mysteries. Give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts. And as always, don't forget to ask your friends. How do you unlock a Khafre without breaking it?